Don Global presents the DG Recruit podcast on everything headhunting and recruitment. Achieve the life and career you envision. What's up, game changers? It's your host, Don, founder of Don Global, the headhunting and career coaching company helping you achieve the life and career you envision. In today's DG Recruit podcast, we'll cover how to organize yourself as a headhunter as your business continues to grow. I got the idea for this podcast because one of my followers sent me a note, and he wrote to me that he's been in the business for now 7 months and he started pulling many jobs, yet he's struggling to organize himself because there's a lot of work and there's not enough time. It's obviously better to have this problem than not enough business, but overall he's worried that as he continues to be one of the top performers that are going to bring the majority of the business to his firm, he is concerned about the rising volume of work required. So what is my advice for the next month? I definitely want to address this because I'm sure all of you tuning in are perhaps experiencing the same business growth volume. As many of you know, there could be a few reasons for that. One could be is that we are in a great economic situation globally right now. The world is hiring at a rapid pace. And the majority of the reason is because societally, we have changed the way that we work. We no longer stay at a company for a decade plus. We usually start switching every 2 to 3 years. This is an ongoing cultural shift that will not stop. Not to mention, the access to jobs has never been easier. So people are now looking to switch jobs as rapidly as possible. And this is obviously a big reason why headhunting is so lucrative. Because while the growth of jobs and the growth of companies and the eagerness of candidates to move jobs is constantly increasing, we are not meeting that demand by the high quality of salespeople we currently have. We are losing great salespeople every year due to their own reasons. They're switching careers, they're, starting their own companies, they're retiring. All these reasons, we as headhunters need to really recognize the amazing opportunity we all have in our fingertips to really maximize our earning potential. And this is why you are seeing a rapid demand for great headhunters, as well as a general macroeconomic demand for jobs, especially across the board, especially in candidate-driven markets, the ones that we headhunters dominate. So the question is, as your business no doubt continues to increase, what are you going to do about it? How can you manage it if you are an individual who works at a large firm? Obviously, that's the majority of the people who are tuning in. So for those who are individuals working at large firms or even smaller firms, how do you deal with the rising volume of clients and job searches and job orders? Well, I think the first step is to understand you do not get paid unless you have two things happening. One is a retained situation where your client is now paying you directly before you even complete the search. Sure, you will get paid. But the majority of you who work at large companies, truly, you're not incentivized to do retainers because you don't get a big portion up front. Retainers, you probably get anywhere from 30% to 50% up front. It may or may not make sense to have retained as a way to move forward, congruent to your commission schedule. I know certainly when I was working at a large firm, I didn't necessarily want retainers because it would mean that I would have a random starter this month instead of me organizing it so that I could maximize my commission bands in later months. So depending on your commission band, maybe the retained strategy is good for you, maybe it isn't. But overall, if you are to get a retainer from a client, you will have to deliver. And that obviously could be a good or bad thing, depending on how you are structured in terms of your delivery. Now, if you are not a market expert in the sense that you cover a variety of markets, a retained search could be very limiting because you have to focus on fulfilling that one job. What if that one job is at 100K at 25% rates, 25K deal, or you have a contingent deal at 200K, at 25%? Rates, right? Ultimately, is a retained search really going to incentivize you? Because if not, you would be in trouble if you were to pitch it, because if you don't deliver on it, that might not be a good thing. So retained is one thing that you could do to earn money
there are caveats to that. And that's why, while many people are so proud of themselves to call themselves headhunters because they're retained, it's not necessarily a good thing, because if you own the whole entire market, why do you care if you get paid today or tomorrow? In my market now and in my market before, right? Obviously, I own a small business now. Retained actually matters. But if you're working at a large company, why does a retainer matter? Like, honestly, why do you have to pitch it to your client? Why is that of value to them? You're not a small business. It doesn't actually make a difference to you because your firm is the one that gets the retained fee. You only get a portion of it, right? Whereas in my firm, I absolutely am motivated to service retainers because I'm a small business. And if you pay me now, you will have my attention and you will have my commitment. So there is still a very big nuance between why retained works and why it doesn't, and also what type of company you are and how seriously you do take your retained commitments. Back to the general sourcing piece of the business. So let's say you're getting really busy, you get all these job orders, you have to fulfill the sourcing needs. Otherwise, you are again going to be in trouble. It's not good to just get a bunch of job orders. That is the easy part of the job. Obviously, everybody's hiring. Like I explained to you earlier, the rising demands from the client side is a natural phenomenon. While you can be flattered that, of course, you're getting job orders, it doesn't necessarily mean that your business is rising, because unless you can service them, you do not get paid, because for the most part, we are contingency recruiters, right? So the reality is your problem is not so much client development and job order accumulation, but more so the organization of your candidate flow. How are you going to fulfill your candidate flow? Because ultimately, you need to pipeline all your candidates so that you can make sure you close off every single job. So I guess the best way to organize it would be to spend your time on each individual search in the times that you have for that search. For instance, let's say you're running 5 different searches for very different profiles. Well, maybe on Monday, you focus the whole Monday morning on profile number 1, because it takes a little bit of depth to get to the level of satisfying a need. And when you're running a few different searches, let's say geographically even or level-wise, you need to jump a little deeper to get there. Obviously, life is much more simplified if you are a niche recruiter. And this is why we recommend every single recruiter to be niche. It is almost impossible to service 5 different markets in 5 different locations at 5 different levels, because that means you are covering 125 different people. Okay? That's kind of a crazy amount of markets to go after. So if you haven't already, you have to pick somewhat of a niche, or else it's going to be almost impossible to manage your future business. It's very dangerous to market yourself as a generalist because of this particular reason, unless you are so geographically focused that you know everybody in one single space. Now, the majority of firms that we know of right now are probably not going to do it that way moving forward, because the world is a very moving, rapidly changing place where people are relocating at faster speeds than ever. So the reality is that most firms are going towards a more geographically diverse market strategy, where they are focusing on the vertical though, so they can own the whole entire market, including the relocators. So I think that's a point worth noting and a point worth understanding as you continue to grow your expertise. But no matter whether you are generalist or you are focused, ultimately it still comes down to candidate organization and also the time that you're spending on certain searches. So perhaps you want to structure your day like, you have different times of the day where you're searching for specific focuses, because in our industry, it's kind of weird. When your mind is set to do something, it ultimately happens. It's kind of an odd phenomenon. I don't know how to explain it scientifically, because it doesn't make any scientific sense other than the fact that, you put your mind onto something and you ultimately will deliver on it. So if, let's say, Monday, you're starting off your week and you are running behind on a certain search, you can absolutely say, all day today, I'm going to focus on generating 3 candidates for this role no matter what. Then you're going to start off with your usual sourcing methods. One could be job boards, your existing database, if you already have that. Obviously, your hot candidates that you're already in process with to pitch the job to get candidates with multiple interviews, and really just manage it from that stage forward. And I hope that your firm is absolutely teaching you how to do this. And obviously LinkedIn sourcing, all of this is part of the whole sourcing plan. It really very much is sourcing 101. So if that's your day, you want to spend that whole morning perhaps on generating candidates for that. Now, if you don't see any candidates all morning and you still need to generate candidates for this job, you might have to do it for the rest of the day, and you might have to do it for over the night, right? So you just have to stay over. There's no shortcut to our job. There is no shortcut to our job. That is the good news, and that's the bad news. The good news is that everybody can succeed doing what we do, because as long as you work hard, you're going to fill the role. If you are working all weekend, you are going to fill the role. In fact, if you don't fill it all day, you probably need to work on the weekend to fill the role. It's just up to you how you want to succeed, right? Do you want to work a long time, or do you want to work a short time? If you want to work a short time, you better be so well established in that network so that you can afford to work a short time. So in my third year of business, when I have all of the candidates in my palm, obviously I don't have to work as hard as I have to year 1 and year 2. Even in certain months of year 3, I will also have to work hard, because some of those days I might not be able to suffice my client need. And at the third year of your business, you might also be taking on more niches. So you might actually be expanding into different niches, where guess what? The bad news is, again, you have to work really hard no matter how experienced you are, because our job does not change. Right? Our exposure to the market we might know more people at any given point in our professional career. However, most of the time, if we are looking to get more business or different verticals or more opportunities that we haven't yet recruited for in the past, the bad news is we have to start from scratch again. And so for everybody out there, whether you're junior or you're senior, there is really no shortcutting our job. We still have to do good old recruitment, calling all of our existing hot candidates for referrals, hitting up people on LinkedIn twice. It just takes time, right? If you only have 8 hours in the day, there's only so much time you have in that day to do what you got to do. So the very much important piece of what we have to do here for ourselves is to generate more candidates by expending our energy harder. So there is no shortcut other than spending more time. That is ultimately the only suggestion I have. Now, if you're looking to shortcut, again, you can try different ways to organize your day better. You can have a list. What I like to do is keep a list of, and it's actually visual. It's also in front of my face. It's not on the internet somewhere. It's in my face. It's on my piece of notepad. It's either on a whiteboard or on a chalkboard, however you want to visually lay out your information. But another good suggestion is to have a list of your active clients. Have a list of your candidates in process. Have a list of the candidates perhaps maybe in process, almost like a matrix list of who you have going on, right? Where you can see and fill it in with your pencil or with your marker and redo this list every single day. So you remind yourself, today, what open recs do I have that I don't have enough candidates in at? Do that for you and maybe perhaps your whole team. If you're running a team of resourcers who are resourcing for you, then you also need to keep track of their job, because their job feeds into your job. So you need to keep a track of their candidate in process so that you know who you have to also supplement to fill the job. Another great idea for most people at these larger firms is your boss actually would be really helpful with you on this. Or if your boss doesn't help you do this, you should do it yourself. You should have some sort of day plan. And on that day plan, you can really customize what it looks like. My old boss had me do, hourly, just kind of blank sheet that had that time on the left and then kind of like blank on the right. And I would have to fill out what my activities were going to be. So I'd be like, source for A job. And then, 8 to 10, source for B job, 10 to 12 client check-ins, 12 to 1 lunch, and then 1 to 3 work on A job again, so that's what a day plan is. Your day plan can kind of manage your day. It's like a diary, right? Just like productivity tool. Another way that you can structure your day plan could incorporate your KPIs in them. So it could say on the side, how many send outs completed, right? On your day plan, it would also say, from 2 to 3 p.m., I'm going to do 2 send outs of candidate Jane, right? So you can really set it up so that you have your KPIs integrated with your day plan, and there really isn't any 100% foolproof way of doing this because it is highly customized. Actually, I'm going to think about creating one for you guys so you can actually use mine if you choose to. But essentially, you can customize this to 100% match what your boss wants you to do and also what you need to be doing, because again, every one of us does such a different job that I really can't anticipate what you personally need to help you manage your day. And ultimately, it doesn't matter if we have this day plan or not if you're not following it, right? Sometimes it's just a matter of commitment where people have the day plan and they're like, ideally, I like to do this. And God forbid, we had people that worked with us who certainly acted like they were convinced that their day plan was something they were interested in, which ultimately, when you're not really truly bought into our job, you just don't really care. So it doesn't matter how beautiful your day plan is if you don't care about your job. Ultimately, you have to care about what you do and genuinely feel that you are 100% committed to accomplishing the goals that you set for yourself. Otherwise, the day plan is just for looks, right? So it has to be completely organic and seriously something that you want to do. In that case, yeah, absolutely. Create a day plan for yourself. Put it into Word doc. Make a beautiful layout with your company logo on top and with maybe your mission statement there too. Just whatever to keep you motivated to hit your targets. So it depends on how you do this, but essentially you want to keep track visually too, so you are reminded of the jobs that need outstanding support. Ultimately, there is no other technical shortcut I can really think of for you. That is not something I'm super strong at. I don't use any strong or obscenely magical technological products. Let me know if you know any. But from my end, technology only can help me so far. I really do need to spend the majority of the time controlling my day, my efforts, and the amount of time I spend on the phone. I mean, if anything, if you're overwhelmed with work, you should be spending as much time on the phone as possible, especially during working hours. And perhaps in the early mornings and in the after hours, maybe 8 p.m. and after, you can afford to catch up on your administrative tasks. So during the day, no matter who you talk to, if it's your boss or, if it's your manager, they're telling you to hit all these KPIs, to do all these things. Every day you'll be told to hit these KPIs. Really, the only KPI that matters when you're busy is how long you're spending on the phone and how many candidates you're really sending out to the client market and how many interviews you're getting as a result of that. So if you kind of focus on the most important KPIs, that's another strategy where you really dial in on what actually works for you. Maybe you're in a stage in your business where adding 10 managers a day is just leading to more problems, and doing 5 sendouts a day is leading to too many outstanding job recs, where your real focus right now is candidate delivery. Right? What's the point of doing all this BD if you can't suffice, if you can't satisfy your need? Right? What's the point of getting 10 more recs when you can't fill any of them? You're just going to piss everyone off. So again, the focus is to do your candidate delivery and be super, super diligent on that. And our job ultimately is ebb and flow. It's an ebb and flow. Sometimes we have all of these job recs being continuously filled. Okay, so what now? Well, obviously you need to be focusing on BD. So it depends on what you do for a living and how your business is set up. Obviously, you need to be more tailored to your current situation in terms of job recs or candidates in process, right? Maybe you have an overwhelming bucket of candidates and you're actually looking for more jobs to stuff them in. Okay, well then your job in your day really becomes all about BD, isn't it? Business development, right? Where your client, you're touching your clients, you're catching in, you're seeing when they're hiring, you're trying to get ahead of the ball there. Maybe you need to do a lot of sendouts where you're sending out your best, hottest candidates to the marketplace as soon as possible. Right? So all of these things are things to consider and to keep in mind as you're organizing your recruitment day, because not one day is the same and not everyone's business is the same. And certainly not everyone's business model and business strategy the same either. So make sure you really understand what you're doing and what your gaps are and base your strategy on that. Overall, I don't think we have a shortcut. The end answer is always that we have to work extra hard to manage our day, to also improve ourselves, to be better at managing our day better and creating systems that help you do your job in a more efficient manner.
I hope DG Recruit is helping you understand the realities, challenges, and opportunities when it comes to headhunting and recruitment. Whether you're already a top biller or an aspiring headhunter, I'd love to get to know you. Sign up at donnaglobal.com to stay in touch on all aspects of career coaching and headhunting. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll see you there. Thanks for tuning in to DG Recruit. This has been a production of Donna Global.